So in this video, we're going to talk about how to set up our axes when we're doing a graphing problem. So I went ahead and drew the axes here, and because we know our variables are x and y, I might want to go ahead and label our axes x and y. So now let's come up with a table of values, because that will help guide our decision making and how to do our spacing of the axis tick marks. So 0 is always a good value to use for the input. If I put in 0 here, I'm going to get negative 20. Now, if I use 1 here, I'm going to get 1/5 times 1 minus 20, and that's not going to be a very friendly looking number. So maybe I'll try something like 5 instead. So 1/5 times 5 is 1, minus 20 is negative 19, which is fine, but still kind of a not a very big change, and so maybe I'll try something even bigger here. Now I could just use 10, but maybe I'll jump all the way up to like 50 here. And if I put in 50, 1/5 times 50 is 10, minus 20 is negative 10. So then for some negative values, maybe we'll try, I don't know, maybe like negative 10. And so 1/5 times negative 10 is negative 2, minus 20 is negative 22, and again, maybe I'll jump to 50 here. And that would give me negative 10 minus 20 is negative 30. So to include these values, I would need my x's to range from negative 50 to 50. If I were to go by ones here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can see I'm not going to fit. So I better adjust my spacing. So maybe 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So if I went by 5s, I would almost get there, but not quite. So maybe I'll just go ahead and do this by 10s. So I could do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And it's okay to not label every single one. For example, I might do like negative 20, negative 40, negative 60, do every other tick mark to make it a little easier to fit everything in so it doesn't get too crowded. Now on the vertical axis, you notice I'm going to need to have values from negative 30 to negative 10. Now there's not actually any positive values here, but we always want to include the origin 0, 0 in our graphs. And I had already drawn this, so I guess we're going to have some unused space up there. So if I went by 10s here, I would have 10, 20, 30, and that's going to get pretty crowded. So maybe I'll go a little less frequent here and go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and I think that will work. So we'll go negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, and negative 40 would be down here. Now, notice you're not going to want to, these need to be equally spaced. So you don't want to go like negative 10, negative 19, negative 20. It does need to be a number line. They do need to be equally spaced. And even though we're not going to use them, I'm going to put a few values up there. All right, so now we can go ahead and graph our line by plotting our points. So we have 0, negative 20 here. We have, I'm going to go ahead and skip that point and jump right to this one, 50, negative 10 here. And I've got negative 10, 22, negative 22 here. That one's kind of hard to see, but then negative 50, negative 30 here. And ideally, if I was doing this on paper, I would pull out a ruler or a straight edge to draw this. But I'm going to try to freehand it here. Not the best looking graph, but not too bad. And there is our line on a nicely spaced axis. So let's look at one more. So this problem, we're trying to graph this equation, v equals 8,000 minus 500t. We're told that this is the value of a car over the first 6 years of purchase, where v is the value and t is years. So notice here, t is my input variable, so that's going to go along the horizontal, and v is my output variable, so that's going to go on the vertical. Now, because we're told that this only is valid for the first 6 years, we only really need the horizontal axis to go from 0 to 6. And so we might space this out a little bit and say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the horizontal. Now for the vertical, we probably better get some idea what our output values look like to figure out how to graph this. So if t is 0, 8,000 minus 0 is 8,000. If t is 1, 8,000 minus 500 times 1 is 500. 8,000 minus 500 is 7,500. Oops, I forgot a 0 there. Let me jump a few more out. Let's maybe do 4. If t is 4, 500 times 4 is 2,000. 8,000 minus 2,000 is 6,000. And let's jump to the end then. Let's go ahead and jump to the, jump to the end of our scale and put in 6. 500 times 6 is 3,000. 8,000 minus 3,000 is 5,000. So my values need to go up to 8,000. Again, I want to make sure I include 0 though, so we will go up to 0. So let's see, if I count by, what would I need to count by to fit all the way up to 8,000? Probably by 1,000. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, and I'm actually going to barely fit here, putting this all the way to the top. If I was to do this again, I probably would have moved this down, my horizontal axis down a little bit to make a little bit more room. Let's go ahead and plot my points now. We got 0, 8,000, 1, 7,500, so that's going to be halfway between 7,000 and 8,000. 4, 6,000, and 6, 5,000. Okay, and then we would again draw that line, hopefully using a straight edge instead of my horrible freehanding, but our line would look approximately like that.